allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, under announcements this evening, I'd just like to remind everybody that the construction continues on Route 5 for the water main extension between the middle school and the elementary school. So as you're traveling, it's down to one lane most of the time. You might want to find an alternate route, and that should be going until mid-October or so. Also this weekend is the Historical Society's Chili, Chowder, and Apple Dessert Contest. It's sponsored by the Waterboro Historical Society and will be at the Grange Hall at 31 West Road in South Waterboro on Saturday, September 14th. The judging starts at 4:30, after which there will be a public tasting that will begin at 5. Winners will be announced and prizes awarded in all 3 categories at 6 p.m. To support the society and enter their favorite dish at no charge, area cooks, both professional and amateur, are invited to participate. Contest food will be accepted between 4 and 4:30. Chilies and chowders need to arrive hot in crock pots. And if you have any questions or for more information, you can contact Diane Holden at 247-5926. And David, do you have that up on the website by chance?
Yes.
Awesome. So you can go to our website and get some more information on that as well. Does the board see any additions or deletions that need to be made to the agenda? Okay. We have no appointments. Hearing a delegation. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard on a matter not on the agenda? Okay. Moving on to correspondence this week. We have the treasurer's report. We have Representative Libby's newsletter. We have a list of cemeteries and properties cared for by Russell Jensen. David, that was the list that you had requested, so that's in there for you.
Thank
and
you.
It's quite a list, too. We have the motor vehicle agent August report. We have a letter of appreciation from Southern Maine Area Agency on Aging. And that letter is because the town did fund some portion this year. And there's also a notice on the EcoMaine Open House information. Moving on to reports and staff initiatives, we have the planning board up first. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Tim Neal from the Waterboro Planning Board. I think the biggest, most interesting thing we're working on is we're looking at site plan again. We have a conflict. And as a result of that, we're working with Tom, we're looking at having major and minor site plan review. So say for a small business owner that's just doing a small addition, instead of going through us to the big checklist and everything, you would meet with Tom, the CEO, I think possibly the fire chief. It's still kind of up in the air, and hopefully just streamline the process for them. They would always have the option to come with us if they have a difficult problem. We would get a summary each month of what they're working on. We're adding a sunset clause at the advice of Natalie. That was something she mentioned, because as it stands now.
You know what, I think, Tim, not to interrupt you, but I think why don't we take a break for about 5 minutes, and David, if you could just take us off the air for 5 minutes, please.
He was actually doing better as time went on.
Okay, good. All right, sorry about the delay, folks, but we're back in business, and so, Tim.
Right, we're back on planning board business. A couple years ago, we went over site plan. We came up with a really good ordinance that said any commercial expansion required site plan, because what was happening was we had a 1,000-foot threshold, and people would stay below that threshold and continually creep ahead and expand businesses, and that's what we wanted to stop. So we're looking at major, minor site plan review, in-house planning, Tom, CEO, fire chief, anyone else who wants to get involved. and then the bigger things would come to the planning board. And we've sent that to Natalie, and what we'd like to do, if we could, is do a joint public hearing with the selectmen when we get to that point. That'd be a good idea, just everybody, the public, you guys, us, could just hash out any ideas on that. One of the other things we sent on to Natalie was a dock ordinance. And this summer there's been some issues on the lake, and people have been trying to put the CEO in the middle. And it's really a civil matter on most of these things. And so our idea is to just kind of get out of the dock business and let the neighbors fight that out amongst themselves. Because one of the questions is where the property line is underwater as it extends out into the lake. And I don't think it's our business to determine that. That's just my feeling. Editorial comment. And that's gone to Natalie also. And that's kind of it. Does anybody have any questions?
Good job with the planning board. It's nice to see a very proactive planning board that is looking at ordinances and looking at moving things ahead and looking at the future. So I think the planning board is doing a bang-up job.
Well, thanks. A lot of that is Tom and Mark, too. Mark is bringing a lot of things to our attention. So, well, thanks a lot.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have town planner, Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, where do I start? I think I'll start with this morning. Today was a really good day because we were fortunate to have the Sewell Company come in to do an in-house training session. And I think it means an awful lot, particularly now in these economic times, when we can get the people to come here and host the meeting here. Well attended. Our town administrator was there in terms of staff. Tina, Jerry, David, myself, Mark were in attendance. Todd Abbott came for a portion of it. Frank Allen from the planning board came for all of it. And so it was a good training session. What it did is it gave sort of an overview of what CityMap was. And Gary has a copy, but in front of you, just behind your nameplates, is a copy that gives an overview that was used as the seminar instruction tool. And that'll give you a sense of what we have now currently in the town of Waterboro. We're at the deployment stage. As we've mentioned before, the Sewell Company is hosting. They're doing our web hosting for the GIS system, and it's going to be part of the CityMap platform. We're also making discoveries of things that are needing to be debugged. So there'll be a slight learning curve that's going to progress over the next year. Our project manager's name is Rick Martins. Everybody here had a chance to meet him this morning. He's making himself totally accessible for any additional work because the second part that started up about 11 o'clock this morning was the use for this week only, of a Trimble with a receiver station. We have that in our possession, as well as the software that David will be momentarily downloading. So we're going to gather up a bunch of information. There were several people that were trained on that receiver and Trimble, because it's a rather sophisticated instrument. Frank Allen and Todd Abbott were the people who showed the greatest interest in using it. We'll be gathering up some information for the land trust. That's going to be the primary mission of Todd. Also, there may be a possibility that Dave Benton will participate from the Road Review Committee. We've sent this information out to Road Review to alert them that it was available, and those are going to be our highest priority, Land Trust and the Road Review Committee, for gathering information. The instrument has to be returned on Friday so that we can minimize our cost on having that instrument. So I'd like to reiterate the importance of having it, testing it, without making the capital investment in one at this point in time.
Now, if Dave Benton is not available, can someone else do, I mean, I would think this would be primary importance for the road. Be too bad to miss that opportunity.
I had sent along the email to Roger, and I'm sure if he has out-of-state commitments that he'll pass it on to one of the team members of the committee. And I can pop another email reminding them. Todd will have it for the next day, gathering up land trust information. So we wanted to show a collaborative effort between this all was generated from the 2020 committee, and we made the arrangements, and it turned out really quite well. So I'm pleased with the startup. As sort of a sidebar to that, which I think will be of particular interest to the chair, the unofficial street map. We have prints of the unofficial street map, and I'll bring in a copy before the meeting is ended, because I believe there's a September 11th road review committee meeting.
Yes, there is.
And I'd love to, if you would, Madam Chair, if you deliver that to them.
That would be fantastic.
And it's a result of the hard work of the road review committee. They did multiple amendments and changes. It's gone back and forth. We've reached the state where it's now property of the road review committee. There may be additional changes, but at that point we'll have to define how we make those changes and who's going to pay for them. The initial costs were absorbed by the 2020 committee. So I'll make sure I get you a copy of that tonight. And I'll also pass it around to staff so that our 911 coordinator can have a copy of it also.
Fantastic.
Okay. But if you spot anything on it that needs refinement, the approach that we're going to take now is we're going to try to bundle changes, because it's both time efficient and too costly to every time there's a line that has to be changed or this or that to run up to Sewell Company. Ultimately, we'll be able to handle it in-house. We're not quite at that state now, but we do have, I think, a great map that I would hope that our ultimate goal is to turn it to an official street map. But we're at the unofficial stage right now, and I'll be sure to give you a copy of it. So I'm very pleased with that progression. Dovetail into 2020. With 2020, these next couple months are going to be critical ones, because we're needing to define a very precise strategy as to what we get done between now and June. I'm sensing that our burnout factor will, at least as I'm told by some committee members, will run to June, and after that we're not sure how much more time we'll have. So we're going to define a specific strategy, which I'll be running by our town administrator, as well as timelines. It seems as though if we put some defined timelines, more things get done sooner. So I'll be working on that, and that'll be presented at the October 21st meeting of 2020. Really pleased. Compliments to our chair, Bob Powers, and the team. We seem to always have a really decent turnout and good hard workers. On the local scene, with potential subdivisions coming in the future, I've met several times with the trustees of the Helen Carpenter estate. Fairly significant holding of about 105 acres. And the grandchildren are of the thoughts that they're going to subdivide a portion of that. And so we're in the preliminary sketch plan stage now. Hasn't come to the planning board as of yet, but I just wanted to alert the planning board that a portion of that estate, particularly the corner on Clark's Bridge Road in Roth's Corner, that'll probably be broken up initially to a couple lots.
It's been staked.
It's part of an estate.
No, it's been staked.
And it's been staked out, yeah.
Now, is that Ross Connor Road, Nell Middle Road?
Say again?
Is the Ross Connor Road you're referring to Nell Middle Road?
Yes. Has it been changed over?
Yes.
Yep. So yes, Ross Corners Road, Mills Road, and at the intersection northerly and north by northwest of Clark's Bridge.
Maybe with the
That
cemetery.
corner. Anybody wants more specifics, I can get you copies as we progress on it. But first, let me get it to the planning board, and so we can expect to probably see that maybe in October or November, once the grandkids define exactly what they want to do. And again, it's a little over 100 acres in cumulative. In addition to what our planning board chair has said, one additional ordinance that's forthcoming, and I think heading in a very positive state, is that we're in the midst of creating a digital as-built plan requirements, so that when site plans come in, subdivision work, survey work, everybody's working on the same platform. The reason for that is when we receive that information and bundle it, then we can pull that information into the GIS system. And so everybody's doing the same thing. I'm really hoping that the planning board will support that. And there was a suggestion by one of our planning board members that I take the original draft that I did in 2008 and bring that forward to Rick Martins, who's the project manager, and have him give it a once-over, because he'll be the Sewell staff person that'll be working with the files at least over the course of the next year that we send to him. As an alert, there's been several commercial developers looking at real estate in town, and one of them representing the largest commercial real estate brokerage firm in the state, scouting commercial lands along both of the corridors. No definitive plans as of yet, no hints as what it might be, but I just wanted to alert you that commercial brokers are looking at real estate in the town. And lastly, with the Economic Development Committee, as the Selectmen and Town Administrator proceed to define the membership, I wanted to pass on to you that there are two people that have approached me that have not filled out applications as of yet. There's still some degree of hesitancy, but there are at least two more people that are expressing an interest, and I'll encourage them to fill out an application, submit it to the town administrator and the selectmen to take a look at it.
Excellent.
So I think there's a group of us that are very anxious to see that committee reformed, because I think there's a lot of good work that we can do. So I'll encourage them to fill out their applications. Any questions? Committee of the Selectmen.
How much is that unit that we got from Sewell?
The unit that Trimples come in all different shapes, forms, and dollar signs. This particular one was slightly over $5,000. The receiver unit was another $2,000. So
if the town were to make an investment at some point, we're talking $7,000 or $8,000?
7 to 8 currently for that type of instrument, which is an instrument that gives accuracy between 0.5 meter to 1 meter. So a lot, as we were told today, a lot depends on if you're using satellite information or how you're establishing your XYZ coordinates. And that's, again, the purpose of this digital ordinance is so that everybody establish it on the same coordinate system. So to answer your question, about 7 and up. And I think what would drive an initial capital investment, if the town wanted to purchase one, would probably be getting some feedback from all the committees to the town administrator and have him analyze, the worth. If we make this investment, what's our return? And we certainly know Road Review Committee and other committees might have a use for it if they're properly trained in it. And it's a pretty easy learning curve on it.
Good.
So, but if there's any other research you'd like me to do on it, I think probably the best thing to do if it were anticipatory, would be to find out what other committee uses might be and see if the demand is there.
Okay. Any other questions for Tom? All right. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Moving on to Selectmen's reports, we'll start down with David tonight.
Okay, appreciate the list on the cemetery maintenance. Looking at it, I don't see the Things Family Cemetery on there, and I think there's other cemeteries on the middle road that used to be mowed and no longer on this list. Also, number 14, Sawmill after Marrows. Years ago, that used to be done by Parks and Rec. I don't know how that got changed over, but I would appreciate at some point if we could get a list of the adopted cemeteries, maybe some of those cemeteries that aren't on here. I mean, it's not a big rush, but if we could get that, it would give us a better idea of what cemeteries are being maintained. Last night, I had a 2020 committee meeting. It was a good meeting, a fairly long one. Bob Powers was reelected as chair, and Gary did attend for an hour or so, and then he went to another meeting. What they're doing is trying to organize everything into a booklet format, that all the studies that have been done, and to wrap things up in June. And they've done a tremendous job, as Tom has said, and the finished product is going to be very nice, very useful. Bike path grant money possibility, Gary. I talked to Todd Abbott last night, and he said that he and Leo Burnett, who was, I guess, with the Snowmobile Club, was interested in sitting down as soon as possible with you, if you could, and look at the possibilities of getting back to Lee on that possible grant money. Okay. And
Can I interrupt you? Did he have a project in mind?
I guess Todd, as far as Todd's concerned, there's all kinds of
Okay.
areas that could use it. Okay. I'm not sure about Leo. The chili chowder contest, I will attest, is very good. I mean, it's a great chance for people who like chili and chowders to sample some great food. And so if you can make that this weekend, as Tammy said, at the Grange Hall, and probably start around 5 o'clock, 5:30, you will get your money's worth, no question about it. And I guess that's it.
John?
I'll kind of take where David went on the cemeteries. I went to the cemetery committee meeting last night, and they brought up Dave's concern for the cemetery out in the Middle Road area. At that time, no one was exactly sure where it was. I think I know now where it is. But the question also came up is, there are 120 cemeteries in Waterboro. There's about 11 of them here that Russell Jensen property maintenance is at some level taken care of. So that means that there's 109 of them or so that aren't. Well, there's about 4 or so that are 4 or 5 that are cared for by private sources, such as Elder Gray, that has its own board of overseers, so to speak. So there's the 120 cemeteries out there. Some of them haven't been worked on hardly at all, and some of them have people such as myself have adopted them, and you might get there once or twice, once every couple of years or once a year or so. And so you're not mowing, but you're out there with a weed whacker and chainsaw, cutting down and reclaiming it. Some of them, it looks like the ones here. I'm just trying to figure out what is the criterion that brings the town into it. And it looks like that maybe those that are beside a road. I mean, it makes sense here that the town is involved with this cemetery right here at Town Hall. And it looks like some of the other ones are right there on the road. And over the years, the town has picked them up. There are some that are further back that no one knows about, or
And
very
some
few
of them
people know about.
Some of them are family plots.
Yeah, and some of them are, and it expanded out from there, you know, from grandparents and cousins and stuff like that. So you might have 20, 25 graves there, but primarily a family plot. There also the committee has been involved in cemeteries that have veterans, and I didn't realize this, but all veterans' graves need to be encircled, fenced in, chain or stone wall or something like that. That if they get the information, they can, from the Veterans Administration, they can get new tombstones. So if you've got a tombstone that has been broken, the federal government will get new tombstones, but they've got to get a lot of information. They've got to get birth date, they've got to get death, they've got to get find what war, what campaign, the unit number, etc., so in order to get those stones. But the cemetery committee is involved in all that. It's a pretty dedicated group, and of course this is their last meeting of the year. They don't do much after when the snow starts to fall, but they're out there. They're out there clearing and working until snowfall. But this is their last meeting of the year. So that's pretty much what's happening there.
Well, there is I believe the state dictates something on cemeteries, right? What is it?
Yes, and I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, what does that do for a cemetery that's 100 years old?
Well, what does the state say? That the town is responsible for what? Abandoned cemeteries?
I don't think this. I don't know of anything from the state that. I mean, as far as there's a lot as far as burying people, but as far as upkeep of old cemeteries and defining what whether they were family cemeteries or they were sections of town. But you know, I'm involved with the Elder Gray Cemetery now. I'm custodian of that. It's a private cemetery. But let's say, what happens if 100 years from now, or let's say 25 or 30 years from now, there's no money to keep it up? What happens to that cemetery? Now, if Elder Gray, someone's going to do something about it because there's probably 500 people, tombstones up there. But if you have something that has 25, back where there was a farm 150 years ago and it's all grown in, there's a cemetery back there, I don't think the state has any, I don't think the state tells us anything about that.
I've never read it, but have been told over the years that towns are responsible for certain cemeteries. I don't know which ones or whatever, but
Well, you get.
I think
that's why we really need to identify what the criteria. You drive up to Deering Ridge Road, one of the cemeteries on the Lyman Waterboro line, the town has taken care of for years. Yet the cemetery that's out in front of, almost in front of Betty Mitchell's house, which is where the old Bennett Hill Road or the old Deering Ridge Road used to come out. There's a cemetery there that all the cloths were buried in, and nobody takes care of it. And that's as close to the road as the other one, right? So
it might have to do about veterans too. If there's veteran in there, maybe there's more.
Then you get to the Deering, and you go down behind the farm, and they take. I think the Deering family takes care of that. That's a very well kept cemetery, but you'd never know it's there.
We actually discussed this at a 12-town group meeting probably about 3 or 4 months ago, because there is a statute that dictates what the town's responsibility is pertaining to cemeteries. And Hollis was actually the town that brought it up because they're starting to look at it getting costly for the municipality. Because one of the private cemeteries that they have in town is no longer going to be private. I guess, I don't know how a cemetery goes bankrupt, but that's basically what's happening. The funding for the cemetery is drying up. And I think it was referred to an article that was in the Maine Townsman several years ago that talked about cemeteries. So maybe we just need to do a little bit of research and see what the town's responsibility is, because I think you're right. There is something, and I
don't know if it's veterans or...
I think it has something to do with veterans.
The people in the cemetery committee, Donna was thinking that Donna Mayo thought that it had something to do with veterans. That when there was a veteran, it has to be enclosed and it has to be maintained at some level.
It's section 1101 of Title 13.
Sounds like a workshop.
Yeah, it's a statute right here. I can read it briefly if that's what you want. In any ancient burial ground as referenced by Title 30, or public burying ground in which any revolutionary soldiers or sailors or veterans of the armed forces of the United States of America who served in any war are buried, the municipality in which said burying ground is located shall keep in good condition and repair all graves, headstone, monuments, and markers designated in the burial place of said revolutionary soldiers or sailors or veterans of the armed forces of the United States of America who served in any war, and shall keep the grass suitably cut and trimmed on those graves from May 1st to September 30th of each year.
Anything else, John?
That's it.
Okay. Gordon?
Just a couple of things. Just a reminder to everybody that the flu season's coming up on us, and the pharmacies and so forth are giving flu shots. They should stop in and get it. They advise getting it as early as possible so that the antibodies have a chance to build up, because there's supposedly some new strains that we might be hit with this year. So just a reminder there, we don't want to see any of the good people in Waterboro getting sick with the flu. So it's also ADHD Awareness Month. I don't know how many people are aware of that, but just thought I'd bring that up as a matter of trivia. I'd like to say kudos to How and How. They're shipping one of their Bulldog firefighter apparatus to fight the fires out in Yosemite, and it's kind of nice to see that was built here in Waterboro, and it it's going out there to help those people. There was a demonstration, I guess, down at the fire station within the last few days, and there is something online. I know it's on Facebook, and I know they have a tendency to put things on YouTube too. So if you query Bulldog, you'll see what that apparatus looks like, and it's quite impressive. And I ran into a citizen in town here who said that his wife watches the Selectmen's meetings religiously on Tuesday night. So I'd like to say hello to Mrs. Fecto up in Lake Arrowhead, and I guess one of her things on her bucket list is to come down here in person to the Selectmen's meeting. So I just want to extend an invitation for her to come down anytime. We'd love to have people in the audience, and you can see how government works for you, and so I think that would be great.
Thank you, Gordon. Dennis?
Came in late, but I've spent a couple of hours with the EcoMaine Finance Committee, so we're actually looking at the projections through 2019, and that'll go through the full board on Thursday. So, but other than that, that's about it.
Last night I attended the 12-town group meeting. It was nice to also have Gary there as well. We had 8 different municipalities were present last night, and of course, one of the topics of conversation was county budget matters. And so I just thought that I would share these handouts with the rest of the board. John particularly came to mind because I know that in some of the correspondence we've had back and forth between board members, John has said, you know, it's important that the budget committee try to work with the commissioners. And so in this packet, there are 6 different letters that have been sent by the budget committee to the county commissioners asking for an opportunity to sit down and try to work out some of the differences that have been had between the commissioners and the budget committee. And none of those letters have ever been responded to by the county commissioners. And these letters date back starting in 2011. As this has progressed looking for legal assistance, there are now 17 towns that have signed on to help fund the budget committee's legal fund. There are two towns that originally said no, but they are now reconsidering, and the budget committee members have appointments to go and talk to some other boards. Along with the money that's been received by the municipalities, there's a total of $2,900 that's been donated to the legal fund by committee members. So there's a list on the top there of who's funded, who has not, up to date, and those letters. And also there's kind of a brief in here from Brad Moran that talks about why the budget committee should move forward with filing this motion. And lastly, where we are to date, there was a meeting with the attorneys and Justice O'Neill. The budget committee attorney has offered to sit down with mediation, have maybe a retired judge sit down and mediate. And the response from the attorney for the county commissioners is that they're not interested in any mediation. They want this to go direct to a judge and have a ruling by a judge. So that's where that sits. Okay. Moving on from Selectmen's reports, Town Administrator's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the last week, I've met over at the library with Bridget and Ruth, talking about a formal tour of the property there and possible future plans and ideas that they might have. I got a little bit more history about the proposal that was done for the new library and the ins and outs, the pros and cons of that idea. I attended the planning board workshop that Tim Neal spoke about concerning the elimination of the dock permitting process. The 2020 meeting last night briefly, and when I left, Bob Powers said he wasn't going to be the new chair. Boy, I've been telling people all day, who's the new chair? Well, that's good that he is. He's done great work. It is exciting to look at Economic Development Committee and see what it can be doing here. There's plenty of things to do, so I look forward to being involved with that. Last Friday, moving around a little in the time frame here, I met with a DEP geologist and their hired consultant from CES on site at the lagoon. The lagoon's out of the Public Works garage. Phase 1 assessment, which is pretty much a history of the activities and the work on site so far, is underway. That'll take probably another couple of months to perhaps get that finished in terms of a history of the site, and whether or not we need additional remediation and actual work on site to take some of those chemicals off site is unknown at this time. They're going to do some water testing. To our advantage, I've discovered that we already did that earlier this year, and I think it's prudent to pass that on to hopefully speed up the process. And by the time the snow melts this next spring, we ought to know whether or not that site is a green light or not for further development. I sincerely hope so anyway. Gordon and I met to talk about the social media policy. I think he's since sent that on to the town attorney, or will have done that soon. As Tammy Jo said, the 12-town group last night was educational for me in terms of some of the history. We're going to have a first department head meeting tomorrow at 9 at the fire station. And the audit data flow has started. Chris Bachman has received the end-of-year reports, has been working on those periodically over the last week and a half. He'll be here starting September 23rd to actually do the field work in here for probably 3 days to begin that process. We got a good check of over $20,000 to go to the ATV club to reimburse them for improvements that they've already done on the trails here, and I understand there's more money coming for that in terms of reimbursement. And instead of going to that other meeting we were talking about tomorrow night, I'm going to go to my first RSU meeting tomorrow night. I haven't been to one of those yet. I'm also going to go to the EcoMaine Board of Directors meeting with Dennis on Thursday. The water line project, they did 400 feet the first day, and they haven't had to pump water yet, but pretty close, I guess. I inquired with the foreman as to why they weren't using Victory Circle all day today for westbound traffic, and I didn't get a reply yet, but I'm curious about that. And Doug wasn't available by cell phone today, so I didn't talk to him. Thanks to Christina for circulating the proper contact information for who do you call for a cemetery lot, so that Donna Mayo doesn't get called for burial plot sales, since she doesn't know anything about those, in her own words. And as many of you know, tax bills have gone out, and the phone's been ringing today. Staff has been quite busy answering concern from taxpayers and possible corrections that Jerry will be working on. I think that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Moving on, at a new business, discuss vote to amend the bylaws of the Economic Development Committee. We discussed this last week, and Dennis made a proposal to change the language that's in your packet. It's the pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Next is discuss a vote on poverty abatement application. We had an executive session at 5:30 to discuss a poverty abatement. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion that the board take no action regarding that.
No action or deny it?
Or to deny the application.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Abstaining?
I'll abstain.
Moving on to old business, discuss consent agreement. This is actually going to be tabled until next week. Our break was because one of the members involved in that fell ill, so that'll be tabled until next week. Next is discuss setting a new date for the Selectmen Goals Workshop. So we were going to meet earlier, or this week, and unfortunately, everybody's off in different directions. September seems like it's going to be a pretty busy month for everyone. So we need to look at picking a different date. I know that I'm going to be gone all of next week, back on the 23rd. Gordon, I know you've got some, are you back after the 23rd?
I'm back before then.
Okay. Dennis, what's your week looking like the week of the 23rd?
I'm all set.
John?
Fine. What day are we talking about?
Well, maybe we could do the Thursday, September 26th. Gary's grinning.
There was some,
You're not available?
You don't need me for that.
I got something down here on the, well, no, that's Friday. I don't have anything on Thursday, the 26th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm open.
Are you not available, Gary? Because we do always have the town administrator participate.
In theory, I'm not supposed to be here, but if I have to be here, I'll be here.
Nope, we can do it another
I don't want
time.
to be the only one that messes up in the meeting.
Are you here Wednesday night?
25th?
It'd be better.
All right, how about John, the 25th?
25th is fine.
David?
good.
We talking like 5 or?
You guys
That's
are all
good
right?
right now.
All right,
Good.
5 o'clock? All right, so the 25th at 5.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on, other, would entertain a motion to sign the minutes of the September 3rd regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Pending decisions, discuss making policy changes relative to the use of social media. And we've heard that where the update is with that. Town charter change to establish a public works department.
Can we meet sometime next week, Gary?
Sure. Yep, I got another job description in that we can,
It'll have to be before or after, if that's possible. Maybe Tuesday, before the meeting?
yep,
What do you got? Is that all right?
17th, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Week's action list. Christina, if we could do some research on cemeteries and what, Gordon found that statute. Maybe we could just send something to MMA and see what they have. And we'll have our September 25th goal workshop at 5 p.m. Discussion of agenda items for next week. We'll have the consent agreement. Will be on then.
We need to appoint, officially appoint Gary as the alternate to regional waste.
Which committees is that to? To all? or-
No, it's to the board of directors meeting, board of directors, the general board, and then I'm on the finance committee, so you'd probably take that, but I'm not sure the alternate to the executive committee that I'm on is Dennis from over in Leamington.
Leamington?
Yeah, so you would back up the general board and the finance committee.
Okay.
Christina, could we also see about getting from the cemetery committee what their list of adopted cemeteries are? And if anything else comes up this week for the agenda?
Just a question for Gary, I guess, is that seeing how this discussion of the consent agreement has been pushed, and I know from some communications that there's a chronology of the history of all of that property down there. I would hope that that could be done and in our packet so that we would have some town information in lieu of.
I think Christine is all but done with that. She tackled it this morning.
Right.
She put the file in order.
Tina,
I'm sorry.
I did the same thing.
To actually create that timeline would be another few hours, but
Yeah, I'm just-
I think we need that.
Well, right now we're going by he said, she said letters. And it would be nice to have some town information. So.
There's missing information in the folder. There's some misinformation, and there's some things that were done that, shame on us, the town, we didn't reverse those, like the initial creation of the lot.
Yep.
But we'll move on from there.
Gordon, do you have something?
Yeah, but now I've lost my train of thought. Oh, shouldn't we have on the agenda the meeting that we want to have with the ATV and Snowmobile Club and so forth, so that we can act on possible grant monies from
Well,
Libbernet?
Gary's working on that.
Okay. I just happened to mention because I saw Todd Abbott earlier from the ATV Club, and I asked him about it, and he said, well, we're supposed to get together pretty quick, so
I think that would be easier done because of Leo's time frame and maybe Todd's, if you could maybe do that in-house.
If we could get Lee Burnett, Todd, Leo, myself, and if there's, two of you folks that want to jump in, that's fine, but I don't think that has to be done in this room, at least not yet.
What I didn't know is Tim from the planning board is an avid mountain biker.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Come on in.
Yep. So, I don't know if that's something they want the chair of the planning board in on, or what?
It's not too long until the budget process starts kicking in. We don't have a budget committee.
One
Yeah,
member.
one person. So, I think we need to have that a high priority to get that committee set up, because you're talking a month from now, they're starting to get busy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll work on my brother-in-law a little more.
Gary is gonna be busy. Gary is gonna be busy.
Get one person, it's too much power
He's
for
not
one
now.
person.
All right. Items needing signature are the minutes of the September 3rd regular meeting. Reminders, Wednesday, September 11th, 6 p.m. is a road review committee at the Old Town Hall. Thursday, September 12th, 11:30 a.m. senior luncheon at the Snowmobile Club on the Old Alfred Road. Saturday, September 14th at 8:30 a.m. is the cribbage tournament at the Old Town Hall. Tuesday, September 17th at 6 p.m. is the Selectmen's meeting, and reporting is the contract deputy, the fire chief, EMA, assessor's agent, code enforcement officer, and the Saco River Corridor Commission. Wednesday, September 18th at 7 p.m. is a planning board meeting at Town Hall. Thursday, September 19th at 6:30 p.m. the Old Home Days Committee is meeting at the Old Town Hall. Monday, September 23rd at 6:30 p.m. is the Transfer Station Recycling Committee at the Old Town Hall. And Tuesday, September 24th at 6 p.m. is the Selectmen's meeting, followed by a workshop on the sale of town-owned and tax-acquired properties. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Good night.